Bobby had been working hard all day, buzzing here and there and back again. He was starting to get tired. Buh, buh, buh. Bobby happened to be flying near Abraham, who was lazing in his swampy water. When Abraham heard Bobby going buh, 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 Abraham got scared and screamed, "Ah!" Caleb, snoozing in the sun nearby, was startled awake by the scream. When he scrambled to his feet, a hairball got caught in his throat. Caleb hacked away until his fur ball came out. Wanting to flee from the embarrassment of the grossness he just spit out, Caleb headed for town. It wasn't long before he happened upon a curious sight. A circus tent had been pitched just outside of town. He wandered in to see what there was to see. David was practicing his latest feat, balancing on a ball on one leg. He could already do it with 2 legs. And who are we kidding? Of course he could already balance on 1 leg. Duh! Eli was watching David perform his new trick. David called out to him, "What trick do you want me to do next?" Eli thought it would be great to see him bounce upside down on the ball on his head. He also thought it'd be really funny to see him do a headstand while spinning the ball on his tail. "Well, what do you want to see next?" David asked again. Eli couldn't make up his mind. He only answered, David didn't have the patience to wait any longer for Eli's answer. Besides, he was distracted by a smell. "Do you smell that, Eli?" he asked his elephant pal. "I don't smell anything, but I hear something," Eli answered. "I smell fish," David said. "What do you hear?" "Sounds like..." Meanwhile, Harold the hippo was sleeping peacefully with his nose just out of the water. Isaac the iguana started laughing to himself. He tiptoed over to Harold's holding area at the circus. Eh, 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 Isaac beeped at him. Harold snapped open his humongous mouth. "What? What is it?" He stood and his mammoth mass rose from the water. He looked around and saw Isaac. "Oh, it's you, Isaac. I'm gonna get you." Harold started after Isaac, who swiftly fled. Harold was soon panting out of breath. He looked around and shouted over his shoulder, "Who wants to spend time with you anyhow? I'll go find someone less obnoxious to be around." Harold wandered off toward the children's petting zoo area. Harold greeted Greg the goat. "How are you this fine morning?" Greg didn't respond. Harold lumbered slowly closer and called out again, "Good morning." Greg dug in his back hooves and let out a "Get out of here!" Harold was so startled, he started walking backwards, which is difficult when you are a big guy like Harold. By the time he made it back home, he sounded like this. John the jaguar came dancing by Harold's habitat. "Hi, John," Harold called. But John was too focused on his dancing to pay attention. He kept dancing right on past. Keith the kangaroo heard Harold, though, and jumped over the fence around his enclosure and hopped on over to Harold. "I heard you called John and saw him ignore you," Keith said indignantly. "Seems no one wants to be around me today," Harold said sadly. "That's nonsense," Keith said. But just then he heard something clanking. It was the keys of the animal keeper. He was making the rounds. Keith didn't want to get in trouble for leaving his area and hopped off, leaving Harold alone again. "Why does no one want to be around me today?" Harold moaned. "Why?" Lee the lion came wandering past. Harold thought he was going to answer the question, but all he said was, "Lee!" "Oh no," was all Harold could say. Ned the nuthatch was feeling kind of miserable. He was sitting on a wire above Harold's home. Harold called out to him, "Ned! Ned!" But Ned's ears were all plugged up from his cold. All Harold heard him respond was, Meanwhile, Michael the monkey was performing his act. One of his favorite parts was to run through the crowd, up and down the stairs, and across the seats. It thrilled the audiences. Of course, Michael's favorite part was snatching a meatball from an unsuspecting audience member. For Michael, it was deliciously fun to be part of the circus. Michael grabbed a meatball and dashed out of the circus tent. The audience loved his antics. Michael stopped to eat his meatball and leaned back against Owen's tank while he ate. "Michael, will you take a look at my throat? Do my tonsils look red to you?" "I'm eating, Owen. I don't want to look in your mouth." "Oh, please. I'm just sure I'm going to need my tonsils removed. What do you think? Please take a look. I can't see into my own mouth. Please take a look for me. Ah!" "I'm going to find a more suitable dining area," Michael said and took off. Michael stopped in front of where Harold was sitting and moping. Michael took a big bite of his meatball. Harold asked, "What you got there?" Michael pointed to his meatball and just said, "Oh, what is it?" Michael the monkey popped the rest in his mouth and was only heard saying, "He could have at least shared a little," Harold said as he watched Michael stride away. The chilly fall air was bothering Paul. "I can see my breath. Puh, puh, puh. I miss my home," he said as he flew, trying to keep warm. "I have an idea," he said, and swooped toward Howard's habitat. Paul called down to the hippo, "Harold! Harold!" Harold looked up. "Harold, could I please come sit with you? Would you help me keep warm?" Harold liked that someone wanted to be with him, even if it was only because he wanted something. Harold was happy to help. "Sure," Harold said, and Paul landed on his broad back. Bobby was buzzing around the grounds and flew past Paul perched on Harold's hind. Bobby was getting tired. It started to pucker out. "Buh, buh, buh." Harold grew a bit nervous when Bobby landed on his nose. Harold was trying to not move a muscle when he saw another bee come flying up to talk to Bobby. "Bobby, come quick," the bee said. "It's Queenie. You've upset her. She's expecting you back." "Are you sure?" Bobby asked. "Of course I'm sure," the other bee responded. "When I left, she was making that noise. You know, quah, quah, quah." "Uh-oh," Bobby said. "You're right. She's upset. I have to get going." With that, Bobby forced himself up and flew off, and Harold, for the first time that day, was glad that someone left him alone. Bobby was on his way back to the hive when he noticed something unusual. He knew he shouldn't stop, but he was curious, even if he was still tired. He flew just beyond the fence around the circus grounds. And what did he see? It was a rabbit. It was Robert, and he was tugging and pulling at something. "Urgh, urgh, urgh." Now Bobby was more curious. What was Robert trying to get? It seemed buried under the fence. "Urgh, urgh, urgh." Finally it came loose. It was a carrot. Or was it? The rabbit sniffed it and then hopped off without it. Bobby flew in closer and saw it was just a stuffed carrot toy. A child must have dropped long ago. Bobby felt badly for the rabbit who had worked so hard for nothing. Then suddenly he felt badly for himself. Queenie would not be pleased. Bobby buzzed off in a hurry. Harold had been happy when Bobby had flown off with his bee buddy, but suddenly Paul had flown off too. Harold had wondered why, until he heard "Sss." He looked up and knew exactly why Paul the parrot had flapped away. Sammy the slithering snake was in a nearby tree. Harold was soon distracted when Ulysses came galloping through. As usual, he was charging full speed ahead without looking where he was going. Ugh! Ulysses ran the tree that Sammy had been in. I say had been in because Ulysses' blow had knocked him out of the tree. Sammy was on the ground and in a bad mood and looked like he wanted to knock someone over himself. Oh no! Sammy spotted Timothy sleeping in the sun across the way. Ulysses noticed Sammy moving toward him. Ulysses got to Timothy first and tapped on his shell to wake him. Tch-tch-tch-tch. Timothy poked his head out of his shell. Why do I hear tch-tch-tch-tch when I'm trying to sleep? The unicorn told him what was happening. Timothy, quick! Sammy's in a bad mood. He's coming this way. You should get out of here. Timothy thanked Ulysses and moved away as fast as he could.